It's called show and tell because that's what kids do at school. They get sent out, they pick up a shell, they take it to their class and they explain what they're doing. At some level, that's what we feel researchers do. The idea that research is confined essentially to writing is a wrong one, and both upstream and downstream of the research work that our colleagues do across the university, they use pictures to explain their processes or their results in all sorts of different ways. That's why we've chosen a small sample of some of the many different kinds of imagery that gets circulated around to help researchers explain what they're up to. I suppose I think of this as being among the more traditional uses of photography to show research. It has a beginning, a middle and an end. It's actually a picture of liquid being dropped through a gauze. And that's one of the things photographs have done since they were invented, is to show things that happen too fast or things that are too big or even too small. Photographs slow things down or bring them closer so you can see what you need to see. Jenny Keane, from a series she calls the Lick drawings, it's important to say straight away that this is not the piece itself. The piece, when she does it, is actually a performance. She's interested in horror films. She takes these scenes from horror films, she draws the scene, and then she licks them, if necessary, until blood runs from her own tongue, so that she replaces the virtual horror in the film with some kind of more realistic horror that she puts in there herself. We've got a record of her process rather than the performance itself. And of course, in research pictures, that's a very frequent way in which it happens. This is a very odd thing. It's by my colleague Paul Sermon. It's actually a chart of the way that he does his thinking. Paul works over very long spans of time and arranges collaborations that are done electronically, often across several different continents. And of course, those things only come available when a commission takes place or when he can engineer a grant for something. And what he's done over many, many years is to map the kind of thinking that takes you from one year all the way back in his career to another. So he's mapped out the connections in lots and lots of individual projects that he's been able to do in such a way as to analyze his own productivity over those years. This is a way of helping himself to understand where the connections between his work over a whole career sit. It's halfway between a chronology and a mind map, a kind of simple graph and a very complex philosophical chart. There are lots of points about this. It's a view of the City of London. But the first thing that you need to say is it's a view that most people don't ordinarily get. This cut in the city looks like a surgeon's cut in the skin, and you begin to see the patterns of the muscles and sinews underneath. The particular place is a funny one in my mind. It's shot from a pub in the Farringdon Road called the Betsy Trotwood. Betsy Trotwood is a character from Dickens, and Dickens, of course, is one of the great collectors of the history and fabric of the city. The way it works is that these particular angles that Fergus has chosen allow you to see something of the theatre of the city, where the thinness of the buildings is itself a revelation. And then we know that just down here on one side is the plaque that measures the first bomb dropped by a Zeppelin in the First World War. Here's Clerkenwell Magistrates Court, which closes off Clerkenwell Green, which was famously a hotbed of radical thinking from as early as the late Middle Ages. And over there you have St. Paul's, seen from exactly the same angle as the angle that Constable painted it from the top of Hampstead Heath. So you have a kind of surgical view of the city where different layerings of history and economics compete in the same rectangular frame. Some of our colleagues do things of quite astonishing sophistication. This is a view made by multiple flights of low-altitude drones over a river, in fact, in Canada. I keep showing it to people, and most people don't realize it's a river, for the first point. The picture, of course, is an accumulation of lots of bits of different scientific evidence, but the particular point of it is it gives you information about what's below the surface as well as what's above. And with pictures of this kind, you begin to be able to regenerate some kind of pattern of the creation of the sandbars in response to the flow of the water. It's a way of acquiring information about something that nobody can in fact see. The camera and the computer together have been able to see what's needed. Different kind of research, different kind of imagery, of course. What we have here is embroidered, and I can tell you, because I've read all the way around the angle of the thing, the first line of that text says, "You simply must remove underarm hair if you're planning to wear a ball gown." It's real. It's the text from an advertisement for Veet, but of course the context of the time is very, very different to the context we have now. And putting it in this slightly absurd context is in fact a very serious way of drawing to attention the changing social parameters under which we run our lives. This is where the show becomes so surprising. Lots of people wouldn't put this on a wall, lots of people wouldn't consider it by any circumstances an artistic production. What it is the orderly progression of things that need to take place by patient and medical staff before an operation can take place, during an operation, and after it's been done. And yet it results in such clear graphics and such a powerful expression visually that we know that it's a good example of something where great complexity is best expressed in some kind of very simple visual form. These are astonishing things. These are the drawings. In fact, they're later recreations of the drawings because it's difficult to get permission to do these things. When a medical professional gets to explain to the patient what's about to happen to them, sometimes a drawing is the only way of doing it. And here we have 3 drawings of the heart, all quite different. And in each case, the great complexity of the heart has been reduced to the 2 or 3 things that the person wants to talk about, and all the rest gets left out. And this one, the one I'm looking at here, is actually done in no more than 2 or 3 lines. It's the whole engine of the body reduced to the 2 lines which matter for somebody to understand what's about to happen to them.